a lovely, breezy afternoon in the garden here, and the leaves are starting to fall. We have lots of different colors in the yard, and I thought I'd come out here to talk about David Sinclair's book. And I know I've been promising you that for a long, long time. So anyhow, the first thing I want to say about the book is that he writes very, very well, and I'll put a picture of the book up here for you. He writes very, very well and in a very readable manner. Now, I've been in the sciences for decades, and if you've ever read, well, you've seen the scientific papers I've put up, you know what they're like. If rat 1 inasmuch as and rat 2 with the dose of this per kilogram, it just seems like it's so much gobbledygook. But he actually writes very, very well. And the first thing he talks about that makes him human to us rather than just some scientist in an ivory tower that we'll never get to, is he talks about growing up in Australia, his childhood, how much he loved it there, the explorations he did in the various forests and beaches that he had there, his love for his grandmother, and then his grandmother died. And that started off an interest in, do we have to die? What can we do to prevent aging? What can we do to not have an end of life that is just a terrible few years of just complete suffering? So that sparked his interest. Then he gets a little bit into the science, and he starts talking about where did we come from as animals? And he starts off and he gives us a little review from the primordial cell that first came out of the ooze and kind of orients us to our species. The next thing he does is then he starts talking about things that we can do, how things work. And if you've read every single one of his papers and listened to every podcast, you probably won't find anything new. But if you want to see it laid out in a very readable fashion and review these things that we should be doing to keep ourselves healthy and have a long health span and possibly a longer lifespan, it's a good book for that. And I want to give an example of just how well he writes. So I'm going to put it up here so you can see it, because he compares us to a piano. One of the best ways, and I'm quoting from the book, one of the best ways to visualize this is to think of our genome as a grand piano. Each gene is a key. Each key produces a note. From instrument to instrument, depending upon the maker, the materials, and the circumstances of manufacturing, each will sound a bit different, even if played the exact same way. These are our genes. We have about 20,000 of them, give or take a few thousand. Each key can also be played pianissimo, soft, or forte with force. The notes can be tenuato, held, or allegretto, played quickly. For master pianists, there are hundreds of ways to play each individual key, and endless ways to play the keys together, in reggae, waltzes, whatever. The pianist that makes this happen is the epigenome. Through a process of revealing our DNA or bundling it up in tight protein packages, and by making genes with chemical tags called methyls and acetyls composed of carbon, oxygen, and hydrogen, the epigenome uses our genome to make the music of our lives. And that is from the book Lifespan, Why We Age and Why We Don't Have to. And I highly recommend reading it. The next thing I have coming up on the horizon, I have two more things I'm going to talk about in my next videos. One is there are some drugs coming out that address and in some cases correct the problems that we've had with aging. It's not a reversal of lifespan of aging yet, or an increasing lifespan, but it's kind of one of the steps there, and I'm kind of excited about that. And then secondly, I traded in my Fitbit, and I traded in, I'm not making a nasty movement at you here, for an Oura Ring. And I love the Oura Ring. It tracks my temperature, heart rate variability, a whole number of things. And I'm going to do a review on that and also expand about why heart rate variability and some of these other components that we can measure with this ring are so important. So until next time, this is Judy Chalice with Lifespan and Longevity. Remember to like, subscribe, and share.